It's good to have you going down the road with us yet. I get a chance to introduce you to someone that you're going to enjoy. Victoria Pelletier is a best-selling author, speaker, and corporate executive who has become a national thought leader on diversity. That's the key word there, inclusion and gender equality in the workplace. Now, you're listening to someone and you're visiting someone with someone who's got 5 granddaughters, 5 sisters, and a mother who took a backseat to no one in the workplace. So what Victoria has been working on is very important. By the time she was 24 years old, she was COO of a multinational corporation. And so I'm not going to age her and date her on any of this, because when you see her, you're going to find out she's a lot younger than me. So Victoria, good to have you going down the road with us.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
The reason that we wanted to talk to you was childcare problems and what's happening under this COVID crisis. I'd like to start there. Can you describe to people what you're seeing?
Yeah, it's incredible, quite frankly. I mean, now going a year into this, we're seeing parents, predominantly women, having to make some decisions significantly impacting their career, given the weight of the home care, child care that they personally bear. And the impact that that's expected to have is a step back 2 to 10 years in their career by stepping back right now.
You know, and I do this often, so I'm going to abuse it again. And my daughters can just get mad at me. But I'll take my eldest, for example. She's an attorney. She and other, she's a partner in a law firm. She has 3 kids. And so during this time, she's had to work from home. At times, judges have told her she has to be in that courtroom. And she can't find health care all the time. She can't. And it comes down to, do I get in trouble with my law firm, or do I do what's being asked of me? And I don't know how you juggle all those balls.
Yeah, it's a challenge. You know, I've had this philosophy for a very long time with my team that there are no schedules. There are just deliverables. I mean, in your daughter's situation, that's a challenge. You got to show up. You're representing someone in court. You need to be there. You know, I serve clients, and so you're often at the whim of them. But the reality is, from an employer perspective, that is how we should be looking at it, creating flexibility for our workers, and particularly, men and women. I don't want to say it's only women who are bearing the brunt of this, but significantly so. When you look at December, almost 100% of the job loss rate was actually women, who were having to take that step back.
Yeah.
So we need to look at, flexibility and much more of a focus on outcomes, for those who need to be at home.
See, my take on all of that is that, first off, women had to break down the door. But then business itself, I mean, you've been on the board of many big corporations. You've been very successful in the world of business. But business, it seems to me, finally woke up and said, if we're going to succeed, we need women in the workplace. And so how do they come back from what you just described happened in December?
Yeah, so a number of things. And it's so disappointing for me because we've started to actually move the needle much more significantly. As you shared in my intro, I've been an executive now for over 20 years. You're right, you're aging me. And doing this. And I've long since been the only woman at the table. The S&P just reported for the first time it has every single one of the companies listed on its exchange that has at least one female board member. The NASDAQ is taking a step around diversity around their boards. So we've reached this point, and we know that I shouldn't have to say why diversity matters. The reality is it's actually good for business. It drives both top and bottom line in terms of productivity and engagement. So this is going to have a significant impact. So companies are going to have to take bold action demonstrably to create programs to re-enter women and men who've chosen to step out of the workforce to handle this right now, and to take action around creating, not only at the top levels, but very much at building a pipeline for it, of creating diverse talent across all areas of their business.
So this is an aside, but you're visiting with an old college football ref. And I got to tell you, when I see a woman or more women refereeing professional football, I smile. I think of my 5 granddaughters, so I smile. That's a workplace. That's a job. That's a change like you just described. So let me ask you this. You're in that boardroom. I'm going to put you there right now, and you say we have to have a fundamental change. What would the motion you would make to that board be? What would that fundamental change that you would offer be?
Well, it's a bit of a double-edged sword when we're imposing requirements and metrics around it. But the fact is, we've talked about it for decades and there hasn't been significant movement. So I think we need to create these bold moves of stating that there must be a certain percentage of diverse faces around the table, and not just faces. I mean, I'm talking diversity from all sorts: gender, race, ethnicity, sexuality, right? The lived experience that every one of them brings to the table brings significantly better innovation and problem solving, a reduction in risk oftentimes when you look at the board level. So they're going to need to set some targets, and they're going to need to hold their recruitment team and those around the table accountable for delivering them.
So you mentioned where we're taking a step back during this COVID crisis, and I can see it. I see it in my workplace. That being said, does it come back? Are we just waiting for that herd immunity to happen and the very issues that we're looking at become issues that go away?
I'm afraid it's probably going to take a little bit longer than we would hope. We've gotten to the point where we're at now. Women, however, still only 76 cents on the dollar compared to our male colleagues. So we still had, challenges to begin with. So it's going to come back, but to get back to pre-pandemic gender parity and more diversity in the workplaces, we're going to have to take even greater steps and actions, again, for re-entry programs around building the right kind of talent slate from a recruitment and sourcing perspective to present to those that are hiring.
So this doesn't have to do with childcare, I realize, but in a way it might. Has the workplace changed? When you're sitting in that boardroom, is there a realization now that you can get productivity out of any employee from their home? I mean, I've been telling people the last thing in the world I'd want to be right now is someone who holds a lot of office space, because I don't think those slots are going to get filled as easily. My wife being a perfect example, she's a president of hospice and home health for CHI. So I don't think she's ever going to work outside of the home again. And so is that a benefit to women or to employees at all as a whole?
I think it is, and you're absolutely right. There's going to be a new definition of normal. Might call it abnormal, but at some point it will become the new normal around looking at hybrid work environments. I don't think you're going to see any company that's going to move back to 100% bricks and mortar in office, short of manufacturing or others that need to be there. So this is here to stay, number one, but it does bring significant benefit for not only the employers, but the employees. Employers, we've actually seen a significant rise in productivity. So it's been great. Now, there's stressors, there's other things that come because of the dynamic we're in right now. But from an employee perspective, it will create flexibility. I think we do want to go back and see people outside of the square boxes that we stare people in and through WebEx or Zoom. We do. But again, flexibility, much more of this work-life integration. So I think we should see it as a positive, but employers are going to need to look at doing things differently. And as it comes to childcare, what I'm actually seeing is flexibility in creating these temporary childcare programs where they're buying hours of childcare that their employees can flex with to allow them to give much more optionality for them to be able to meet the expectations and the deliverables they have.
So in the minute that I have left, I mean, home base in Western Canada, home base in Toronto, home base in New York, you've gone where the work wanted you to go. For me in the Midwest, I've been on national TV with NBC, with CBS. This whole COVID crisis, because of what we're doing right now, has opened windows up for me in the standard of how you do media. I wouldn't normally get to visit with you in the way I am right now. Does that stay when this is all over? Maybe that's a self-serving question, but does that stay the way it is now?
I think it does. I think, we're looking at the way work gets done, who's doing the work and where it gets done in a very different manner right now. I spent 220 days on the road just a few years ago traveling to see clients, but it limited how many others I could see. So I think the reality is we worked fairly effectively this past year in this environment, here to stay.
Okay, so a little bit of time left. Where do they find your work? Best-selling author, where do they find it?
Find me at victoria-pelletier.com.
Okay, it's that easy. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on, and bad part is we got your phone number. We might do it again. So thank you, Victoria.
Thank you. Thank you.